We're going to do some 7-round mock draft simulations today on Locked On Bills.
You are Locked On Bills, your daily Buffalo Bills podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Bills Mafia? It's Joe Marino from the Draft Network, and I'm your host of Locked On Bills. Happy Friday to you, and thank you for making Locked On Bills your first listen every day, or if you're joining us on the YouTube channel, your first watch every day. Today on the podcast, we are going to do some live 7-round mock draft simulations using, of course, the mock draft machine on thedraftnetwork.com. And when I say live, I mean it's live in terms of I don't know what's going to happen here. We're going to go into this. We're going to do a few simulations and see what happens, but I will definitely make picks that I like, and I'll do my best to talk you through everything. And, of course, if you're joining us on YouTube, you'll get a chance to see the mock draft simulator in action as I work through these selections. If you're joining us on the regular podcast feed, then I will do my best to talk through it and make sure that you can engage with our exercise here today. One quick note, I want to let everyone know that I started a Twitter community for Locked On Bills. And so you can join this community. Go to the communities tab on Twitter, search Locked On Bills. You'll find it. I also have tweeted about it from my own account at the Joe Marino. And I'd love for as many of you that listen to this podcast to join the Twitter community, because it's going to be a great spot for us to continue the discussions we have on this podcast. I made it in hopes that we can engage and interact more, and just a very streamlined place for us to do that. A lot of people have already joined. I think we're less than 24 hours into this thing, and there's like 250 people already in it. So come hop in and talk Bills football, and let's continue these conversations that we have on the podcast in the Twitter community. Again, find the community tab, search Locked On Bills, and ask to join, or just go to my Twitter feed at the Joe Marino and you will find it, because I've tweeted about it a few times here recently. All right, let's fire up the mock draft machine over at thedraftnetwork.com and do some simulations here. And of course, we will pick for the Buffalo Bills. Let me get rid of this overlay. There we go. And see what happens here. I'm thinking we'll do 2 or 3 simulations. And my objective here is for us to do a simulation where we pick either a wide receiver or a corner with the first pick, or we do one where we pick a running back with the first pick, just to have some fun with this process. So let me make this a little bigger, and let's start the draft. So the Bills pick number 25 overall in the first round. I would love to get a cornerback, but I can see here that Sauce Gardner, Andrew Booth, and Derek Stingley are all off the board. I'm not going to accept any trades for the purposes of this. And Trent McDuffie's also off the board, so I don't really see the value at cornerback here with this first pick. Let's see if there's anybody that I like at wide receiver. Oh, yeah. We've got Chris Olave sitting right there for us to pick. And we're going to make him the pick. Chris Olave, wide receiver from Ohio State. This is a burner. This is probably, after Jamison Williams, the best vertical receiver in this class. And I love that for the Bills, to have a guy that can really stress defenses vertically. And he's a really good route runner with good hands. I wish he was better after the catch, but that's kind of the concession that you make with him. And I feel really comfortable with him playing on the line of scrimmage, as an outside receiver. So with Chris Olave in the bag as our first pick, let's move on to our next pick here, 57 overall in the second round. And there are some good running backs available. We got Kenneth Walker. We've got Breece Hall still available. At cornerback, let's see what's sitting there for us. Roger McCreary from Auburn. And I just don't know about him being a great scheme fit, because he's mostly a man corner with short arms. And I'd rather wait for like Alontae Taylor or Cam Taylor-Britt in the third round, Josh Williams in the third round. I think we're going to wait on that. So let's look and see just kind of your best players available. You got a couple of linebackers here. Quay Walker is in the mix. Chad Muma's in the mix. We already picked a wide receiver, but George Pickens is here. let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and pick us. Ooh, I like this interior offensive lineman, Dylan Parham from Memphis. He's a very tantalizing pick here, and I think that he would be a really nice option for this offense. All right, so let me do that. Let me pick Dylan Parham, who I think would be a slam dunk player to groom behind Roger Saffold and be the successor there next season. And just a physical mauler in the run game, technically refined, good balance, good size. I've seen some comparisons to Shaq Mason with him, and I like it. So we're going to go with Dylan Parham, the offensive lineman from Memphis. So our first two picks, Chris Olave, wide receiver, Ohio State, Dylan Parham, the guard from Memphis at 57. And that brings up the third round here, where I am thinking a lot about a corner. You guys know that I wish I would have picked a corner already, to be completely honest with you. And so here we are at pick 89, and there are a couple of my favorite prospects still available. Headlined by Cam Taylor-Britt from Nebraska, who I think is a perfect scheme fit. He's got good athleticism, super physical, he tackles, and he profiles well to the style of defense the Bills like to run. Now, in other simulations, I could maybe wait for like a guy like Kobe Bryant in the fourth round, but I really like Cam Taylor-Britt. Let's go ahead and pick him here, and then maybe we'll shift towards a running back here with our fourth round pick. And like I showed on the podcast earlier this week, there's going to be some running backs that I like available in the fourth round. So we are going to prioritize doing that. So we went wide receiver Chris Olave, first pick, second round pick Dylan Parham, and a third round pick cornerback Cam Taylor-Britt from Nebraska. So here we are, pick 130. And let's see what running backs are available here for us in the fourth round. We got Dameon Pierce from Florida, Rashad White from Arizona State that I like, Jerome Ford from Cincinnati that I like. Could still have that our guy Pierre Strong, the running back from South Dakota State. You know, he's still very much in play. So given that I like some of these running back options, let's see if there's other players that I like just better here that we can wait and get a running back with our next pick. And there's that punter, Matt Araiza from San Diego State, still on the board here at pick 130. Let's pull the trigger. Let's get that punter thing figured out. The Bills have a guy now here in Matt Araiza that can really flip the field and pin teams deep and good control. And obviously the question with Araiza is just that he hasn't been a holder, but I mean, my goodness, figure it out, bro. You can develop as a holder and give the Bills a big time upgrade at the punter position. So we pulled the trigger there, and we continue to push off running back. And so let's hope that there's a running back that I like still available here in the fifth round, number 168 overall. And there is Pierre Strong from South Dakota State is still on the board. So our patience paid off. We were able to get an answer here with Pierre Strong, who's an explosive back, over 7 yards per carry at South Dakota State, over 4 yards after contact per attempt. So I love being able to get him here at pick 168. So we waited on the running back, and our patience paid off because we still got a really good option. So we got ourselves some meaningful help at wide receiver, guard, corner, punter, running back. And now it's just about examining the players that are left on the board and picking guys that I think are good values. And so if you're joining us on YouTube, you can see the best players available. And for me, I actually want to go down here to Zach Tom from Wake Forest, who I think could be a really nice, versatile offensive lineman who has been a good left tackle for Wake Forest. I think he could play guard. I think he could play center. I think in a lot of ways he's very similar to Ryan Bates, but with more length. And I think he'd be a wonderful developmental offensive lineman to come in and challenge some of this depth. So we're going to pull the trigger here on Zach Tom out of Wake Forest at pick 185. Now, one thing that I'm going to do here as we work through more simulations is I'm going to make a promise to myself that I won't pick the same players. So every one of these simulations that I do today will feature players that I didn't pick before. And that's kind of a fun little caveat here to allow us to be introduced to more names on the podcast. So here we are. We're at pick 203 in the sixth round. Again, we're thinking best players available. And I do want to keep in mind players that could actually make the roster. And I feel like there's a reasonable opportunity for the Bills to draft a tight end that can unseat Tommy Sweeney as the tight end 3. And there's some guys that I like here. And the name that really pops for me is James Mitchell out of Virginia Tech. And he was really breaking out this past season for the Hokies, but he had an injury that forced him to miss the season. And he's a bit of a forgotten man in this class. But If I'm not mistaken, my comp for him is Charles Clay. Yeah, right here you can see my prospect comparison being Charles Clay. And I think if the Bills want to go with 12 personnel as more of a feature in this offense, having a guy like James Mitchell, who I think is stylistically similar to Charles Clay, would be a really good pick. So let's pull the trigger there on James Gale. Now I'm looking through this draft and I realize that I've picked 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 offensive players, a corner, and a punter. So let's maybe find ourselves a meaningful piece for the defense here at pick 231 that I think has a chance to come in and challenge and offer some competition. Let's go with actually, I like these defensive ends that are on the board. I like Ellis Brooks, a linebacker, as well. Let's go with Kyle Krabs was just talking to me about this guy. Asizi Otomeo from Minnesota. 6'6", 280, good length. Profiles as a base 4-3 end and a gap control defense that can kick inside on passing downs. I think this would be a wonderful 7th-round pick as a toolsy guy to come in and provide more depth for the Bills on their defensive line. And maybe he won't make the roster, but at least he's got the traits to profile as a guy that has a chance to stick long term. So there it is. There's our first haul here in the 7-round mock drafts using the mock draft machine on the draftnetwork.com. We went Chris Olave in the first round, wide receiver, Ohio State. Dylan Parham, 2nd-round pick, guard out of Memphis. 3rd round, number 89, Cam Taylor-Britt, cornerback from Nebraska. 4th round, we went with the punter, Matt Araiza from San Diego State. 168, that's the 5th round, Pierre Strong, running back from South Dakota State. Pick 185, Zach Tom, versatile offensive lineman from Wake Forest. 203, James Mitchell, tight end for Virginia Tech. And then our last pick, a toolsy defensive end out of Minnesota, Asizi Otomowayo. That's a difficult thing to say, and I'm not sure that I said it correctly. After months of playing, college basketball has determined the top teams for the Final Four, and that will determine this year's national champion this coming week. BetOnline is your number one spot for all of your sports betting needs and info from all the latest odds, contests, and player props. You name it, they've got it over at betonline.net. It is the best spot for all of the latest sports developments, including podcasts and reviews of all the leagues this season. And it's not just basketball. BetOnline is your continued source for sports wagering information needs, including live betting and your favorite Vegas casino games. So head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and the action, because BetOnline is where the game starts. All right, folks, let's crank up the mock draft machine and run another simulation. And this time, I have to pick different players. I can't pick anybody that I've already picked before. A little sip of the tea here to keep the throat going. By the end of the week, with doing 2 daily podcasts and staff meetings and 2 hours of radio and other different segments that I do, my throat is usually gone. And so, excuse me as I might have to take a sip of tea here from time to time as we work through these simulations. So we got it going here. We're picking 25th in the first round. We can't pick Chris Olave. And these corners never get to 25. They never get there. And look, Daxton Hill is drafted as well already as my cheat there to get a corner as a safety convert. So let's do that weird thing where I pick a running back in the first round, which is not my style. I typically don't value running backs in the first round, but because I think there's a reasonable chance it could happen, let's do it. And let's say the Bills pick Breece Hall, running back, Iowa State. Let's do it and see what the rest of this draft haul could look like. And I'm already seeing Jahan Dotson would have rather had him. Kenyon Green would have rather have him. But I wanted to force myself to do this for the sake of doing it and seeing what the overall draft would look like if I picked Breece Hall with pick 25. So we're getting lots of trade offers here that I'm continuing to decline because for the sake of this, I don't want to get too into the weeds with trades. Maybe at some point we'll get into that, but I want to kind of just keep things as is. We're getting a ton of trade offers. So we're getting here to pick 57. We got a running back in our hands. And you know that I am burning up because I want to get either a wide receiver or a cornerback. Let's see what is available to us at both of those spots. At wide receiver, our best options are George Pickens from Georgia David Bell, Purdue, John Mechie from Alabama, Calvin Austin from Memphis, Jalen Tolbert, South Alabama. The wide receivers really got snatched up in the top 50 picks. Let's see if there's a corner that fell to us. Not really. The corners went as well. The best corners available: Mario Goodrich, Alante Taylor, Josh Williams. Those are more third-round picks to me. Let's see if there's just a BPA player. Running back, Kenneth Walker. Yeah, would have loved to pick him here, but we went ahead and picked Breece Hall at 25, so that really threw off the balance here. All right, let's get galaxy brained here. Let's go with a player that the Bills have shown some interest in. This is going to be a little bit more of a predictive mock draft than a what Joe would do. And so let's go with Chad Muma, the linebacker from Wyoming, who the Bills met with at the Combine. And they met with a few linebackers at the Combine. That leads me to believe that they could be in the market for one of these guys fairly early in the draft. And so in this scenario, let's go with Chad Muma. He could be your A.J. Klein replacement and your contingency if you're unable to re-sign Tremaine Edmonds. So here we are. We're up at 89. Our first pick was Breece Hall, running back, Iowa State. Our second pick was Chad Muma, linebacker from Wyoming. And now I better find a wide receiver or a corner that I like. At wide receiver, Jalen Tolbert's my favorite receiver left. At corner, Cam Taylor-Britt's there, but I told myself we couldn't draft the same players. So we won't. We're going to pick Josh Williams, a corner out of Fayetteville State. Big, long, physical, athletic corner that can run. He's really good in press coverage, and he's one of my favorite sleeper corners. You know, you say sleeper just because he went to Fayetteville State, but I think this guy has a chance to be an NFL starter, and he's a really, really physical player. So got a corner that I like here at 89 to go with Chad Muma, the linebacker in the second round. Breece Hall, the running back out of Iowa State, our first round pick. So here we are. We're coming back around here to the fourth round. And let's see if there's a wide receiver that I like. Let's hope there is. I see Khalil Shakir out of Boise State just got picked. That's painful. Let's see. Velus Jones out of Tennessee, who would help the Bills as a returner as well. That's tantalizing. I like that. Let's go with Velus Jones right here. Wide receiver out of Tennessee. He's a guy that profiles very well as a wide receiver that can win down the field. He's got a ton of speed, like a 4.3 40-yard dash at the combine, and he's a proven return guy. And so speed, return ability, I think that makes a lot of sense for us here at pick 130. So we're turning it in. Velus Jones is the pick. Return specialist, wide receiver out of Tennessee. So this one, so far we went running back, linebacker, corner, wide receiver. And we're coming up here with our next pick. It's going to be in the fifth round, number 168. Maybe we'll go for a tight end a little bit earlier this time around. See what those tight ends are available to us if there's anybody that I like. Of course, I see running backs that I like, but we went ahead and picked one in the first round. All right, so last time we went through this, we went and picked James Mitchell a little bit later. I'd like to go with a tight end here, but like I said, I have to pick a different player. I'm thinking Charlie Kolar would be a really functional player to add to the mix here. He's out of Iowa State, and look, we're double dipping into the Iowa State players after picking Breece Hall with that first pick. Charlie Kolar, he's not going to wow you with any one thing, but he's really consistent across the board in terms of blocking and catching the football as a wide receiver. I think he can come in and be your tight end 3 and maybe develop into a tight end 2. So we'll make him the pick here at number 168. And so we have 2 selections remaining, and we'll really kind of focus in on best players available. Maybe a little help on defense, maybe defensive lineman. We haven't picked any offensive linemen. Let's definitely do that. Let's get the Bills something at offensive line to work with here. Let's see what the top options are. Obinna Easy out of TCU, really good traits, size, length, athleticism. He's interesting to me. I like Luke Godeke from Central Michigan as a guard tackle combo. He's going to be too tough to pass on. I think that we have him too low, to be honest with you. Predictively, I think he's going to go in the top 150. Cade Mays out of Tennessee, a versatile player. He's played guard, center, and tackle. He's a physical player. But I got to be honest with you, I cannot overlook that Luke Godeke is still on the board here. Converted tight end at Central Michigan. Played right tackle for them. I think he's more of a guard in the NFL that can maybe play tackle in a pinch. has some Andy Levitre to him as a comparison. I wonder who Kyle put down as a comp. He put down Cole Madison, which is a decent comp, but I think there's starter traits in Godeke. So let's make him the pick here out of Central Michigan, and I'm gonna have to talk to Kyle about bumping him up a little bit here on the board because he's a lot better than a 6th-round pick, but we'll take him. All right, the last pick here, number 203, is on the board. And again, we're trying to find players that actually have a chance to be rostered. That's kind of my goal here with these draft picks, which we answered that question yesterday on the podcast. How many picks can the Bills actually make and roster a player? I feel some type of way about maybe going with a wide receiver here. You know, we went with Velus Jones in the 4th round, but I'm not afraid to double dip here because there's some traitsy guys here in Samori Toure and Kevin Austin that I think could be big-time special teams players, but also have that height, weight, speed combination that you're looking for, especially in Samori Toure, who, man, he's really interesting to me. He's a guy that I think could be a better pro than college player, and I think a traitsy guy that has some upside in the 7th round is exactly what you're looking for. So we're going to make Samori Toure, wide receiver, Nebraska, the pick here to close out this particular simulation. So this time around, we went with Breece Hall, the running back, in the 1st round. 2nd round, Chad Muma, linebacker, Wyoming. Josh Williams, corner from Fayetteville State, in the 3rd round. 4th round pick, Velus Jones Jr., wide receiver from Tennessee. Our 5th round pick, Charlie Kolar, tight end from Iowa State. Luke Godeke, offensive lineman, Central Michigan. And then the wide receiver out of Nebraska, Samori Toure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I actually have one more pick. I jumped the gun there. We got one more pick to make here. And let's see if I can find somebody that I like in terms of roster ability. I like Jashawn Corbin out of Florida State, a running back, but we already picked Breece Hall. But maybe you completely overhaul the room. Let's do that. Let's overhaul it completely. Breece Hall comes in and provides legit competition. Well, no, he's your 25th pick in your draft. He's your starter. So Devin Singletary becomes RB2. And then you have Jashawn Corbin, Duke Johnson, and Zach Moss competing for RB3. Let's turn in the card. Let's double dip at running back and really get ourselves some options here for the long term at running back. So we went 2 running backs that time, 1st and last pick, and then linebacker, corner, wide receiver, tight end, offensive tackle, wide receiver to round things out there as it comes to the Bills simulation this time around. We talk about Built Bars all the time, the world's best tasting protein bars, but have you tried the Puffs? If you haven't, then you're missing out on one of Built Bar's best tasting protein bars. Puffs are the first ever protein-infused marshmallow. They're fluffy, they're marshmallowy. They're not just a protein bar, they're a treat, and they're covered in 100% real chocolate because all Built Bars are covered in 100% real chocolate. Puffs included, and they're healthy for you. Most Built Bars contain 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 net carbs, and 17 grams of protein. So many great flavors: mint brownie, coconut, coconut almond. They got new flavors coming out all the time. So make sure you check out Built.com often. And at Built, it's all about taste. They make it taste great first, then they figure out how to make it healthy. And I don't know how they do it, but they pull it off every single time. Got a deal for you. Go to Built.com. Use promo code LOCKED15. You'll get 15% off your next order. Again, that's promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at Built.com. All right, let's do one more simulation. And we've done one where we picked a wide receiver, Chris Olave, first. We did one where we picked a running back first, which is not something I support, but wanted to do it just to do it to see what it looks like. And this time around, we will pick something different. We'll see what's there for us here at pick 25. And I'm guessing none of the corners that I like are going to be there. They're not. Let's do something, though. Let's do something here. Let me see here. Let me see if there's any offensive linemen that I like. All right, there's no offensive linemen that I think are worth this pick. Ooh, Daxton Hill is here. Daxton Hill, the safety from Michigan that I think can play corner for the Bills. So my options here, the big brain thing that I was going to do was pick Tariq Woolen, the corner from UTSA, who is unbelievably toolsy, but still a work in progress, which absolutely matches up with what the Bills have typically done with their first round picks. So there's that piece of it. But let's do this thing where I pick Daxton Hill, safety from Michigan, convert him to corner. And I don't think there's any concern in my mind that he can do it. He's got all the length and athleticism in the world necessary to be an impact corner. And here's the benefit of doing a live mock draft is I forgot to pick 7 rounds. And so it stopped after 1 round. And so we have to restart the simulation here to get this right. So here we are restarting. And we'll see what happens. I'm pretty sure I kind of boxed myself into that idea of Daxton Hill in the first round. So we will make sure that we probably do that here because that's a fun scenario to explore. So here we are, pick 25. And Daxton Hill, are you still on the board? Let's see. He's already been drafted. He didn't make it this time. All right, fair enough. Let's do the other thing that I was talking about, and that's Tariq Woolen here at pick 25, who I think in so many ways is exactly what the Bills have typically picked in the first round. Toolsy guys, high ceiling, high character. And, for him, he's switched over from wide receiver back in 2019, has only played corner for 2 years, and he's one of the best athletes that we'll see in this class. And, ran a 4.2 something 40, can jump out of the gym. He's got ball skills as a converted receiver. I think he's got a high ceiling at corner. So that's what we did this time. We went with Tariq Woolen, and maybe you can call it a reach, but you're talking about the back 25% of the first round. Weird things happen there. All right, so we have the corner this time around. Is there a wide receiver that I like here with this pick? Our best options are David Bell, John Mechie, Calvin Austin. He's fun. We don't have to pick a corner. We have we have running backs. We have all the running backs left except for Isaiah Spiller's already been drafted, so we could pick Breece Hall or Kenneth Walker here. I feel inclined to go with a wide receiver here, especially because I'm kind of boxing myself into making sure that I pick different things. Let's go with Calvin Austin, wide receiver from Memphis. Unbelievable speed, really good route runner, big-time hands, will be an explosive return guy. He's already proven himself as a return guy. The problem with him is that he's small. He's like 5'7", 175 pounds. But I think he gives you run after catch ability, route running, vertical receiving skills, and return ability. And so we'll make him the pick here at 57. All right, so we've got Tariq Woolen and Calvin Austin already in the mix here. And so that opens up our options here in the third round to think about a lot of different things. We can think about a running back. We can see if there's any offensive linemen that we like. Maybe we go tight end a little bit earlier here. Ooh, and my tight end 1 is on the board, Isaiah Likely. Man, he's tough to pass up on. I think he's got rare big playability at the position. I think he's probably gone by pick 89, though. I am conflicted. Let's do it. Let's pull the trigger. It's just too good of a value. You can see as our 69th player in terms of predictive, and we're picking 89 and he's still there. It's just too good of a value. Let's pick it. Isaiah Likely. Man, he's a good player. You feel like you have a nice piece to develop behind O.J. Howard this year to take over as that tight end 2 if you're going to be a 12 personnel heavy team next to Dawson Knox beyond this season. So that's a different looking top 3 picks, but that's what I want to do. I want to present different scenarios. That's all mock drafts ever are. They're just presenting scenarios. So this is a fun scenario that looks different, but I'm not mad about it. So Tariq Woolen, Calvin Austin, Isaiah Likely. Let's see if there is a running back that we want to get here with this pick. And there's several running backs that I like. Dameon Pierce, Rachaad White, Jerome Ford. I'm going to pick Dameon Pierce here. He's one of my favorite people in this draft. I've got a chance to meet him a couple of times. He was on the Draft Dudes podcast. High energy dude, hungry, loves football, loves working. And you can tell he's got the ability to, obviously run the football, but he's got pass catching upside and pass protection upside. It just came down to opportunity for him at Florida. And he was kind of in a crowded backfield on a bad football team. And I think he's going to be a really solid pro. I said this the other day, and I think this might have scared some people, but I think Dameon Pierce would give the Bills everything they thought they were getting in Zach Moss. And that should excite you. I know that everyone's down on Zach Moss because the first 2 years of his career have not gone as you would have hoped. But that doesn't mean that the idea of Zach Moss wasn't a good one. And so I think we kind of recapture all of that by getting Dameon Pierce here at pick 130. All right, we're back up here at pick number 168. Let's see what's available for us. Some offensive linemen that are interesting to me. Maybe another corner here in Chase Lucas. Speed receiver in Danny Gray. Lecitus Smith is popping out to me right now. I think we're going to make him the pick. Lecitus Smith, Virginia Tech. He's a guard, powerful, good athleticism. And I think he's got a lot of untapped potential because if I'm not mistaken, he played tight end. He came to Virginia Tech to play tight end and he switched offensive line in 2017. And so I like that upward mobility. He's big, profiles well to a zone run scheme. I think he's a great fit. So let's make him the pick here at number 168 overall in the 5th round. Coming up next at 185, we've got Tariq Woolen, Calvin Austin, Isaiah Likely, Dameon Pierce, and Lecitus Smith. Let's see what stands out when looking over the best available options. Because we've already checked the big boxes. My big boxes that I want to check in every mock draft is corner, wide receiver, running back, interior offensive lineman. I want a player at all 4 of those spots that I think have starter ability. Now, that doesn't mean that they're all going to be starters, but guys with starter traits. And in this simulation, we did that with still picking Isaiah Likely, which I thought was just a crazy value pick at 89 that I couldn't pass up on. So I'm not mad about that at all. So let's keep the line moving here. See what's available. Pick 185. Alex Wright as an edge defender stands out to me. I just don't know if the Bills can roster. I mean, they have 5 good edge defenders right now. I get stuck on that a little bit. Yeah, but he's good value, right? He's good value. Let's do it. Let's pull the trigger on Alex Wright, an edge from UAB, very productive player, has length, has some speed to power ability, and sometimes that's what happens in the draft where you don't necessarily plan on picking a player, but the value is just that good, and so you pull the trigger. So Alex Wright, edge from UAB, who I think might go, we got him at 185. I wouldn't be surprised if he's a top 120 player. All right, so we're back up here at pick 203. And I want to pick Wanye Thomas, the safety from Georgia Tech. He is a really physical and explosive player that I think will be an immediate contributor on special teams that can challenge DeMar Hamlin, can challenge Jaquan Johnson a little bit. I think, Jaquan will probably play out his deal. But what I mean here is just challenge that overall safety depth with a guy that I think profiles well to special teams. So we'll make him the pick here at 203. And then our last pick here, number 231. Let's go with another wide receiver here because, we kind of got a niche player here, a 5'7", 175-pound receiver in Calvin Austin. And I like to give, just another option here. And so we went with Samori Toure, a toolsy guy out of Nebraska. Let's go with Kevin Austin this time around, a toolsy guy out of Notre Dame. Actually led the Notre Dame receivers in receiving last year. Height, weight, speed guy, 6'2", 200 pounds. Legit speed. He's got some inconsistency with his hands, but we're drafting him in the 7th round. We're not getting perfect players here in terms of, this is a bona fide slam dunk. It's a 7th round, but and that's why I want to take a toolsy guy like Kevin Austin here. So there it is. We did 3 different simulations. The last one here was really interesting. This one's fun. I like how this came together because it doesn't look how the simulations have typically gone. And I think that's what I love about doing 3 simulations here on the podcast for you, where I don't allow myself to pick the same player at any point. So 1st round, Tariq Woolen, corner from UTSA. 2nd round, Calvin Austin, wide receiver, Memphis. 3rd round, Isaiah Likely, tight end, Coastal Carolina, just an insane value. 4th round, Dameon Pierce, running back, Florida. 5th round, Lecitus Smith, interior offensive lineman, Virginia Tech. 6th round, Alex Wright, edge, UAB. Also 6th round, Wanye Thomas, safety, Georgia Tech. And then in the 7th round, Kevin Austin, a wide receiver from Notre Dame. Folks, I hope you enjoyed that. I certainly did. This is stuff I love. Mock drafts, the Buffalo Bills, the TDN mock draft simulator, all coming together to give us this opportunity to explore different scenarios. And hope you found this to be useful, to learn more about the prospects, to learn more about the possibilities in the draft, and where even if it goes one way at the top, like you can still fill it out in ways that you didn't expect. And even the Breece Hall I was going to say that's kind of weird putting those words back to back, but the Breece Hall draft that we did, the second one, I didn't love picking Breece Hall, but I still like how the overall draft came together. And so I hope that was something that you took away from this exercise. And, it's a little bit loose here on a Friday. We're doing mock draft simulations. Nothing is rehearsed or scripted. It's real-time stuff. So, it's definitely a little bit of a different scenario than we normally do on the podcast, but I had fun with it, and I hope you enjoyed listening. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, I kindly ask that you share, subscribe, rate, and review the podcast. Check us out on YouTube as well, where, if you see the YouTube version of this podcast, you can see the simulator and the different players on the board and just kind of me working through it. And so it might be a nice way to consume this particular episode. But as always, consume the pod however you wish. We greatly appreciate it. Join the Twitter community. Please do. Locked On Bills. Find the community tab, search Locked On Bills, request to join, and let's keep talking Buffalo Bills football on social media as well. All right, folks, have a great weekend, and I look forward to catching up with you again on Monday.